There's a lemon and a strawberry fruit pouch. This would be a very traditional like shortcake. The cream color on top. Maybe that's why they gave it to me for free. Like that would be a cute cake color. This one right here.
For every mother counts.
So this is the first sample that they sent back to me. Hi! It's been so long since I've designed anything and I'm really happy and excited to get back into it. We're gonna go through the whole process together. I feel like this will be very educational for anyone that also wants to manufacture goods but have no idea where to start and it seems really daunting and intimidating. I think this video might help you a lot. A little rundown of the bigger products that I've made in the past. Donnie and Honey. So this is Donnie the Dust Bunny and he has a little magnetic sock on his back. And this one is Honey the Love Bunny and a little whipped cream and strawberry magnet. And along with that, I released the fruit pouches. There's a lemon and a strawberry fruit pouch. Really cute. I made these tulip plushies. Very cute. And then along with the tulip plushies, I released 2 bag colorways. I call these my tote purses because they're like tote bag material except the size of a purse. This is one of the products that I also made during the tote purses and tulips era. I didn't end up manufacturing these to sell because I did a pre-order and they didn't sell too well, so they will forever be in the archive. And yeah, those are my credentials in case you're wondering why you should listen to a random girl on the internet. Now I think I'm ready to make my next product. It's gonna be a jewelry box except it's a plushie, and that in itself sounds like enough of a challenge for me to figure out how to make. Let's get started. So I brought you downstairs into my office because all of my files for my previous plushies and tote bags and everything are on this computer. And I want to show you and also at the same time refresh my memory since it's been so long on how I make the, I guess like tech pack it's called. Let's use my Donnie and Honey one as an example. What you want to do, you'll have the general photo or illustration of what you want it to look like. You do a top point of view, a bottom point of view, a front point of view, a side point of view, and a back point of view. So if you want to save that back and forth with manufacturers, you want to give them as much as you can give them in the first or second go so that there's not as much confusion in between. So whatever information you could put into the file that would be helpful, it would be good to just put it in at the beginning. Also something important, you would want to put that this is copyrighted by you so that manufacturers can't steal your design. Over here on the bottom right, I also put Pantone colors. So this is a Pantone guide and pretty much what this is a standardized color matching system. So usually when you're designing something and it looks really good on your screen, the colors are perfect to what you imagine it to be, it's not necessarily the colors that your manufacturer will see on their screen. So what this does is they'll have one of these books, you'll have one of these books, and it'll match the colors that you want in this book. And it'll be on their book, so they'll know what color you're looking at and it'll be more accurate than looking on a screen. That is why these are nice, but they can get really expensive, and if you don't use it often, I would try checking your library. Usually they should have some that you can borrow or at least reference inside of the library. And then this is like a little accessory that I made for Donnie, and originally I was planning on making it a sock with a little elastic band that's just tied around him. It doesn't feel good to just like have this accessory be tied around it, so then I thought I'm gonna make it into a magnet. So I just asked them like really quickly, hey, can we put magnets in this? And they're like, yeah, we can put magnets in it. Also, if you're wondering, this is where I got the material little swatch. It really helps when you're looking at materials to reference from things that you've seen in real life. If they don't have a material that you want to use for your plushie, they tend to not want to go out of their way to look for it. If you try once with a manufacturer and they're just like, oh, we don't have this material, we can't work on this material, can we do a different material? Just say, no, can you go look for this material and actually like buy some of this fabric to make this project? And most of the times, if you're like persistent about it, they will go get it. And if they don't find a material that is to your liking, just keep insisting for them to go and keep looking and looking, because for this material that I used for Donnie, they actually couldn't find it. At least like 3 times they came back to me, said they couldn't find it, this is the closest thing they'll ever find. And then at the very end they found the perfect material, and all it took was just me saying, no, this isn't the one I'm looking for, can you go look for more? And then they found it. So don't be afraid to ask for what you want. I'm gonna go really fast with the tulip plushie design that I made, but this was a tech pack. It's pretty similar to the other one, except in this one, I tried to be a little bit more detailed with the measuring. Over here, I wrote embroidery or screen print. We ended up printing the color onto the fabric so that we could get those lines without having to screen print or embroider it. Sometimes manufacturers will recommend other solutions. At the time, I didn't have the lines here, and once it was made into 3D, I realized that it looks so empty and I didn't like that. That's why I added the white lines. I really did not like the color or the material of the stems. Like if you can see, it's like this like crunchy material. It looked kind of cheap. It didn't look like what I imagined it to be. Like compared to this, I really like this material. And so this one, I ended up changing into a corduroy fabric for the stems to give it more texture, to break up the evenness of this whole plushie. Then this became the second variation. And with this one, it now has the printed fabric with the little lines on top, the corduroy leaves that I really, really love. It looks so much more elevated now and matches the quality of the flowers. This is the closest to like the final product. And I made these tags for them. For my Donnie and Honey plushies, I actually manufactured these tags separately from sticker wrap, and then I hand tagged every single plushie that I had. And through that process, I realized it was way too much work for one person. I would have rather paid them to make the tags on their end and to just tag it for me, because they already have all the plushies, and then I wouldn't have to tag it myself. But yeah, for these ones, I made little fun like sticker tags, so you can actually like take the sticker off and then stick it on things and reuse the tag. You can also put the information on a little thing here in case someone takes the tag off. You'll have the information on the plushie itself. So I kind of want to organize my notes a bit. I feel like I have just like little bits and pieces everywhere. It started out as this. I also want to put these notes in as well. Notes are all in one place. Let's get started. This is the reason I can't work. I'm trying to work. Oh. So sometimes when I'm designing something completely new, I draw the same image over and over again just to wrap my head around it. So I redid the front, back, side, top, bottom, layer 1, layer 2 drawings, did little thumbnails so I know how to illustrate it when I'm gonna bring it into Illustrator. Right? So pretty much what I'm doing now is I'm just collecting photos of other people that have made similar things or cute cakes that I like. And I'm not trying to copy those cakes, but more so like look at the techniques that they're using to make the cream, or like what fabrics they're using. So yeah, I'm just building my little board of inspiration. This would be a very traditional like shortcake strawberry. I don't know how experimental I want to be with the colors. I guess the only creative freedom that I would be experimenting with would be the zippers and the interior lining color, as well as like these little dots. Maybe they can be like something more fun. And also maybe I want to make like a plate, and maybe that can be a fun color, or maybe have a fun pattern if it's in the budget. We're gonna start the tech pack today. This is a tip. The crustier you are, the better the experience will be. You wanna feel like a little gremlin, just like typing and clicking away in your studio. So tech packs are essentially like what holds this project together. It's gonna have all the information that you would need to manufacture something, so that the manufacturer knows what you're talking about and what you want to make. Sometimes this can look like one page is just like your Pinterest board, you know, little text saying like, I want this part to look like this, or I want this keychain bit to look like this keychain I found on the internet. It could look like a lot of vector drawings from different angles. If you know how to do like 3D modeling or CADs, you can insert those in here as well. It's pretty much just your notes, like a big notebook that's really organized. I have been pushing this off because it is a very intimidating process, but once you get started, it gets like really addicting. Okay, so this is Illustrator. What I usually do is I just open like a A4 size canvas with 3 different pages. Honestly, it doesn't really matter exactly what format you use. I'm just using the standard one in case the manufacturer wants to print it out or something. I'm just gonna really quickly write in the titles. Cake, plushie, jewelry, organizer. On the second page, I'm gonna write interior after it. And then on the last page, I'm gonna just write reference photos. I'm just gonna trace it, and I'll see you when I'm done tracing it. Okay, this is the current progress of what I've done. I've illustrated everything, so now it's vector format, and the great thing about vector is no matter how big or small you size it on your canvas, it won't like pixelate. For example, if you do make a vector file of like these strawberries as a print, you can pretty much size it up into a massive banner, print it out, and it'll still be crisp. Now I'm gonna add in reference photos as well as figure out what materials I want to use for each part of my cake. I actually already put in a bunch of photos in my file. I just need to put them in place. For the cake part itself, I want it to be really textured, so I found this photo and this photo. Can just make a little swatch of it. I'm gonna put an arrow. I like to distinguish my notes with red lines and red text so that they can like turn it on and off, or like be able to see that that's not part of the actual design. For the cream part, so it's still like plushy like, but then it'll still be like fluffy, but then also still have a smoother finish, so it looks more creamy. And I'm just gonna point this at all the parts that I want. Also, I want to show them what I would want the little like ring section to look like. So I'm just gonna insert a photo with the rings so that they know it's like a ring organizer. Put it right here. Like that. For the top one, it's gonna be more of like a little cubby space, a little trinket space. You could put like your bracelets in, or your jewelry stuff in, and then I'm gonna put it in. I think that's all I need for references. we're gonna pick the colors for the cake. And if you're wondering why I'm on the floor, the most accurate way to look at a Pantone guide is actually with natural lighting. So I'm as close to the window as I can be. And we're gonna try to color match what colors I want for the cake. I think I like 706C. 706C. For the red, I like 1786C. For the cream color on top, 705. Is that too warm? They're all so dark. I think I'm gonna use this one. Sometimes there's no one exact color that will match, and then you just have to kind of wing it a little bit. 7604C. I actually have some fabric guides that they gave me. I don't know why I'm not using them, but I should definitely use them. 670C. Okay, and then I just need the brown. So one thing that you can do is you can ask your manufacturer for fabric swatches for specific types of samples, and they'll just gather like a bunch of different samples that they will also have a copy of, and then you will also have a copy of, so that you can compare it that way in case you don't have a Pantone book and you don't want to buy a Pantone book. I'm not sure if they give these to people for free if you've never worked with them before. I think I got these ones maybe the second time around when I was working with my manufacturer, so I had already bought a lot of merch from them before, so maybe that's why they gave it to me for free. But honestly, it probably wouldn't be that expensive to ask for fabric swatches. These ones are for the tote bags. These ones are like tote material. I think this material would be very nice for like the fluffy cake part. Like that would be a cute cake color. This one right here. I'll take a photo for them and include it in my tech pack. So now that I'm starting up on designing new merch and also preparing for my next shop updates, I'm realizing I don't have a lot of structure in my life because for the past year I've been kind of unhinged with my work life. But I'm very grateful that Sensama has kind of led me to a more healthy workflow. Thank you Sensama for sponsoring this video. Sensama is actually a tool that can help you break down your work week into manageable daily tasks. And so this is typically what my week looks like. For each task, you're also able to set how long you think that task will take, and you can put down how long it actually took and compare that later. They also have a built-in focus tool because when you're looking at all the clutter, it's kind of like easy to get overwhelmed, and this really simplifies it. And I've also been really into the Pomodoro timer, and they have one built in as well. And I really do think that that timer actually helps me get things done, especially as someone that gets very distracted with working. And another way that you can simplify looking at your schedule is by literally clicking the daily task list, and that will only show you all the tasks you have for the day. And it's also very simple to move things around on the calendar. One of my favorite parts that Sensama has integrated into my workflow is at the end of every day, it gives you a today in review, which tells you how you spent your time. You're able to plan your next day. You can choose which tasks can wait till the next day or the next week even. You can also write out some obstacles that you might have. For example, I have a bad habit of procrastinating work when I know I have an event scheduled at a specific time. And after you're done checking off everything on your to-do list, you can head down to the daily shutdown section where you can reflect on your day. It really takes the stress away and gives you the right tools to be more intentional with your day. You're also able to integrate in a lot of apps and pull your to-do list from them, like Notion, Gmail, Slack, Asana, Trello, etc. If you would like to try out Sensama for yourself, they have a 2-week free trial, and what's great about it is you don't even have to put down your credit card information. You can just purely try it out and see if you like it before you commit. Today I'm gonna try making a prototype to figure out like the dimensions of it and how I want the sizing to be. Just using paper or whatever I have and tape. This is something I like to do for things that I'm unsure about. For sizing, I might not be as accurate this time. And what I mean by that is I don't think I'll break down each and every section and measure that because I'm not really sure how the patterning process works. I'm gonna send the manufacturer a very general sizing that they can work with, and if they need more from me, then I will figure that out, because they usually know more about pattern making and how the proportions will look according to like the images. Zip, zip, zip. Bing. That's how it would work. Just trying to see like if it looks okay having 5 rows of like where the rings go. This would probably be like as big as each section of the cake. I would be kind of concerned with if it would stay up if it was a plush. The hinges. Ah! The hinges on the back. This is where the zippers will be. These will be about like that big. I think we're gonna go with this size, or round it up to like a perfect dimension. I stole this from the Top of Honey just to see the proportions. That's actually pretty spot on for the size I want it to be. 5 by 6 inches. 5 inches. 6 inches. This will be 5.5 inches. 5. Hello, I am back to continue working on this cake plushie file. Today I worked on adding this little plate situation to the cake, because the more I thought about it, the more I liked the idea of how I could have like a detachable cake. I hope it could be attached via magnets, but if I can't, I was thinking about Velcro. Because I designed this cake as a bedside table type of like decor item, but like a functional decor item, I kind of thought it would be nice if the plate was able to hold the jewelry that you just want to shed off of yourself at the end of a long day. You don't care to like open the whole cake up and like put your jewelry back in one by one, but it's a place where it's like soft so it won't damage your jewelry. You could just throw it on there and then organize it later. I really like that concept, so I added this little mint simple plate. So now that my file has been set up, the next step is to look for a manufacturer, and a lot of people get the most intimidated by this part, and trust me, I also get my fair share of being intimidated as well. So I'm gonna try to give you some tips to make it feel less intimidating. There are a few questions that you're gonna wanna ask every single manufacturer before you start working with them. You're gonna wanna know what MOQ is, which is minimum order quantity. It's how many you want to make. And the second question would be, how much would it cost per piece? And then the next question, the turnaround, which is how long it will take starting from giving them the initial file to making the sample to starting the final production of everything, and to the length of the shipping time and when it will get to you, like in your hands. You'll have all however many pieces you ordered from them. And the last thing would be, you would want to know how much the sample cost is gonna be. Now, let's start from the beginning with the MOQ and with how much it costs per piece. This really depends on what you're willing to pay, and this is why I usually don't recommend my own manufacturers, because everyone's relationship with their manufacturer will look different. And for example, for me, I usually order around 500 pieces, and this is my limited drop order. Sometimes I sell out of 500 pieces within like the first half year of having the products in my hands. Sometimes it takes me a whole year, sometimes it takes me 2 years. So it really depends on how many you think you're gonna sell, and if that makes sense with how much it costs per piece, which is the second question. This might be something you already know, but the less you order means the more expensive it will be. And this is because instead of doing the same process all at once and producing like hundreds and hundreds of the same plushie, for example, if you're only buying 100, that's actually more work for the manufacturer. So yeah, before they can provide you how much it costs per piece, you would have to tell them how many you're planning on making. Sometimes you're gonna also need to make molds of things. So for example, if you're making a custom zipper design, or for example, the strap on the bag that I made, I had to make a mold, and the mold cost for that was about $100. But once you make that mold, you have that mold on file and you can reuse it for other projects. And it's usually like a one-time additional fee on top of everything else. So once you finalize all of that information and you're happy with the cost, happy with the MOQ and everything like that, you're gonna start talking about the turnaround time. And I feel like it's very important to ask the manufacturer this, because from my experience, they usually don't really tell you exactly, like from start to finish, how long it'll take. They'll probably tell you step by step, like, oh, if we start manufacturing the sample today, I could get it to you in a week, but they won't continue to tell you how long it'll take for the whole thing to be done. Asking them for the timeline will really help you with your shop updates, and like when you're planning on launching, you can kind of expect when everything will be finalized, and you can, in between the manufacturing time, you can work on other projects and just get things rolling all together. If they're kind of just like wishy-washy, don't want to tell you, just keep talking to more manufacturers, because I think communication is very important when you talk to manufacturers. If you don't think they're transparent enough with you, I feel like that's kind of iffy, because you're giving them a lot of your money and you would want to feel very safe knowing that your products will actually end up at your front door when the time comes. So for turnaround time, my samples usually are done within a week, the first sample. This isn't like the final sample that you base the rest of the products off of, but the first draft of the sample usually is done within a week. And if you make any edits, it'll take an additional week. Once you finalize the design, they will start production, and usually that takes a month for 500 pieces. It could be longer depending on if you order more or if you order less. I forgot to mention that with the sample fees, if you're a reoccurring customer for a manufacturer, sometimes they waive the sample fee for new products that you develop with them, just because they want to build that like relationship with you, and if they know you're gonna like follow through and make the product to the end, they sometimes waive the sample fees, which is really nice of them. Also, one last question that you should ask about the sample cost is how many revisions are included with that sample cost. So if they say, oh, the sample cost to make your product is $100, you want to be like, oh, how many revisions are there? And if they say no revisions, try to see if you can negotiate to at least have 1 or 2 revisions, because usually your first sample is not going to come out the way you want it, and you're going to want to have backup revisions in case there are things that you would like to change. Paying that sample cost over and over again, it can get pretty pricey. So where do you find manufacturers? I started off by going to Alibaba.com. I feel like this is like one of the main marketplaces where you can find a lot of manufacturers. Instead of searching under the products categories, you would search under the manufacturers and just search whatever it is you want to make. So if you're making plushies, just search plushies and you'll get search results for like all of the manufacturers. And a little tip for working with manufacturers on Alibaba is that you want to make sure that they've been doing this for a long time. Me, I actually look for 10 plus years of experience, and it usually says right next to the manufacturer's name, it'll say like verified and how many years they've been on this platform. And when you find a manufacturer that you want to work with, just make sure you read through their descriptions. There's like a lot of different things you can look at, like they'll take photos of their warehouse, they'll take photos of their employees, and sometimes they'll have photos of the different plushies or different products that they've made in the past with other people on display, so that you can kind of see the quality of their work. And if it's still hard for you to figure out who you want to work with, the way that I decide is every time I start a new project and after they've signed the NDA and everything, I send them my file, and you don't have to work with them yet, you're just showing it to them, and then I ask them, have you ever made something similar to this before? Or you're pretty much asking them for like a portfolio of their previous work so that you can see the quality of it. You can see if they're able to make something similar to what you have envisioned. And you can also ask them things like, what other companies have you worked with before? And if they've worked with bigger brands that you can recognize, then that kind of, you know, it's more assurance. I hope that part was helpful. I'm gonna message my manufacturer now. The last time I emailed my manufacturer was in October 2023.
Hi Zoe, I have a new product that I want to develop. I just wanted to check that my NDA is still valid before I send over the files. Best, Tiffany.
Now I wait. If Zoe confirms that my NDA is still valid and on file, that's good. If you've never written an NDA before, you can find pretty standard NDA contracts online, and you just copy and paste, make the changes that you want to make to it, and send that over. And what they do is, to sign it, they have like a manufacturer seal that they stamp on it. Once they stamp it, they will scan it and send it back to you so that you can have it on file with their signature on it. Pretty much whatever you're making, that is your property, and it just reassures you that they will not post it publicly anywhere else, because that's an issue sometimes with manufacturers. It's been a few days and I've just been communicating back and forth with my manufacturer, and I just want to give you a little update on how things are going. So yeah, after I emailed them saying like, is my NDA still valid? They said, yes, the NDA is still valid. And then once I get that confirmation, I send my PDF file that I made with you guys. And then Zoe asked if I have a size and quantity I would like to produce. I sent them the dimensions that was in the file. I guess they must have not seen it, which is fine. And I usually give them a ballpark of how many I want to make. So I base my numbers off of my pre-sales, but based off of my previous sales, I would say ranging from 500 to 700 pieces. And I just emphasize, can I decide more specifically after the sample is made? And then Zoe replied that the size may not be exactly as I want it to be because it is more intricate. So they will confirm the like actual size once it's made. And then Zoe gave me the sample cost, which is $220. From my experience, everything that I've made so far, the sample price was $100. And I do think it is a lot higher here because it is a more intricate product. They usually only refund the sample cost after someone orders 2,000 pieces, which is way too much for me. I feel like I would not ever order that many for one singular product. But they said to consider a long-term partnership, they will refund me half of the sample cost. And if I end up ordering more than 2,000 pieces with them, like of different products, then they'll refund me the remaining 50%. And then Zoe estimated that the price per piece will be around $5.83. And it's not accurate, but they will update it with the final sample. And in the last email, they sent me the invoice for the sample, which you have to pay first before they start production. So I'm gonna pay that, and then they're gonna start. It's gonna take 2 weeks to make the sample. So in 2 weeks, I'll be back, hopefully with some pictures, and hopefully it looks like I imagined it to be. Now I'm gonna work on the little tags. This is like the template they gave me. You can ask your manufacturer what yours should have written on it. And then I also wanna make a hanging tag. I'm gonna try to go more organic and do like a brush pen type of loose drawing. I think that would be the vibe. I think that would be really cute.
Every mother counts because all women deserve
Y'all, we got the first prototype back from the manufacturer in our inbox. I already opened it because I was way too curious to wait, but I have my thoughts on it. I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of changes that I need to make. Let me show you what I mean. So this is the first sample that they sent back to me, and in this phase we're pretty much just looking at the build of it and if we like the shape of it or not, and like fix the base before they start adding all of the details into it. I'm pretty happy with the way it looks right now. Like everything looks functional, which is something that I was really worried about. I really like the inserts. I feel like it's very clean. It's exactly what I was going for. But I'm not really happy with like the finish of the inside. So I'm gonna have to ask if they could either like double line this part somehow or figure out how to clean that up a little bit more. I'm not too happy with the plate part. I feel like it's too green. It kind of looks like grass. The green that I chose was like a bit lighter than this. And then the last thing I would really want to focus on is the top triangle. I feel like it's a little too small. That's why the edge is kind of like folding in on the top right here, which I don't want that because I definitely want this to be the cake like batter part, and I don't want it to come up over the frosting because that just doesn't make sense. But overall, it's a good start. Okay, so I took some notes on the photos. I want to make this panel a little wider because this is supposed to be frosting on the cake as well. I want the triangle here to be a lot bigger, so I kind of like drew in a little indication and filled it in and took a note of that. I want this bigger. I want a bigger plate, and I also want the green to be a lighter fabric. And the only other thing is the cleanliness and like tidiness of this area. And also I was asking if we could put some filling in between the layers so that it doesn't look so like empty. They'll probably get working on like the second sample and then they'll start doing the final one. So it's been a couple of weeks and I finally got in the final sample. I don't know if I'm gonna go with this yet. I still feel like I have a lot of revisions that I would like to make to it. So these are the photos that they sent me, and right off the bat, I feel like they really tried to capture what I had drawn out in my file. But I feel like all together, now that I see the final thing, there are certain aspects of it that I'm not quite content with. One of the first things is probably like how thick the zipper looks. I don't think I anticipated it to look like that. Like it looks so heavy. I also asked a lot of my friends for their opinion on it. I wanted them to be like really honest with me on how they felt about this. Currently, we just kind of all collectively feel like it's looking a little cheap, and that could be from like some elements like the little like fake pearls on top and how unclean the zipper looks. Like it just looks a little bulky and unnatural. We also agreed that the strawberries just weren't really doing it. It kind of is like a second read seeing the faces, and a lot of my friends also mentioned that it doesn't really look like my brand. It looks very dull. So yeah, with all of this information, I think I'm gonna try to spruce it up a little bit. I do like how they solved this issue right here. It's like so much cleaner now, and it's like on the back, this whole panel is the frosting, which I think they did a great job finding a solution for that. Like they really listened to me and made that happen. So I'm gonna go back to the drawing board and try to figure out how I can make this better. With manufacturing, it's always so humbling in a way. Like I feel like nothing ever really goes as planned. I think this is like a really good expectation to have when you're manufacturing something more complicated, that there are gonna be a lot more bumps in the road. Unfortunately, I can't show you the final product in this video. Also, if you wanna see more of the progress with this specific product, please let me know below. Maybe I can film a part 2 like extension of this video. So the last step of this whole project, once you're very satisfied with your item, is pretty much payment and shipping. So a lot of manufacturers will tell you that they will require a third up to half of the down payment up front, just because they want that security that you have the funds to make the hundreds that you're asking for. And so this will make both ends of the transaction more secure. And once you pay that, they will usually start to manufacture the goods. And for me, it takes pretty much like a month to manufacture. and up to 2 to 4 weeks to ship to my front door. And I also realized that like smaller products as well will be a lot faster. So if you're making like a plushie keychain, that probably won't take an entire month. Because shipping is broken down into 3 different categories. There's air freight, there is ocean freight, but then the ocean freight is sectioned off into also 2 different shipping ocean freight options. One is usually faster and one is usually slower, and the faster one, it costs maybe like a few hundred more, but it'll get to you maybe like a week or 2 faster than the slow shipping option. Air shipping is always faster, but I only recommend this for lighter loads of inventory, because if you're only shipping maybe like a box of like 100 plushie keychains, which is like maybe that big and it's a lot lighter, then I feel like air would be more affordable and you'll get your products faster, versus if you're shipping in like 10 giant boxes of merch in, it'll probably make more sense to do ocean freight. Paying for air freight for all of those boxes is going to be very expensive. And usually the manufacturer will also ask you if you have your own shipping partner that you already work with. And for me, I don't. So I just tell them like if I can use their shipping partner and they'll organize all of that for me. I just have to make the choice of which shipping option I have. I guess like some people do have their own shipping partners, and in a way through them, if you're like consistently partnering up with them, then you'll probably get a discount of some sort. That's pretty much all the wisdom that I can share for this video. If I think of anything else, I'll try to mention it in future videos. And again, if you would like to see part 2 of this, please let me know. If you have your own insights and things you want to share, you can also leave that below, so we can all learn together. That's it. I hope you learned something. Please have fun manufacturing things. It's not as scary as it seems. And yeah.